All right, so we got some action going here with the C30, okay? And what we got going on is a cab, a new cab, 64 as a matter of fact, popped up on Facebook, and it actually is from the guy who sold me this C30. So it was a real easy call up and say, hey Joe, what are you doing here? What is it? And he sent me extra pictures of it, and his cab that he has that he's selling is in better shape than this cab, which is beneficial because we had identified, if you'd been in behind the scenes, I don't know if this will show up behind the scenes or in the C30, probably in the C31 series of videos. We had gone out to look at a shorter bed C30, 64, same color, same everything with that, which we kind of declined. We made a lower offer for parts value on it because the cab was in really bad shape, and the owner had indicated that the previous owner that they bought it from just kind of pulled it out of the farm, and they weren't too careful with it, so there may be a little bit of front end frame damage. I didn't notice any of that, but it was risky to go ahead and pay the $1,200 he wanted for it. So I basically said, where we currently stand, I can pay $400 for it and it would limit my risk. Well, because we found a new cab, we're going to put that new cab on this. We've already got a deal with Joe, and we're going to go pick it up this week. And then we can take this cab, which is in horrible shape. It's just, it needs some attention, but it's a lot better than the other cab, onto that, reducing the risk. And then what we can do is, if you remember in the math section, we talked about doing another project, because we're not going to do the flip up portion of the bed because it just puts the flip up seam right in a super bad spot. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make a custom parts hauler / tow vehicle, and that thing will work out perfect for that because it's a C30, so it's got basically this same rear end. It's not a dually, it's a single, but it does have the short bed to it, and it'll work perfect for that. So we're trying to close that deal. I've gone back to him and I made another offer on it. He's got one other gentleman that's interested, but he said he'd give me first shot. So we'll see where that ends up, and if we end up getting that one, cool. If not, we'll keep looking. But this one's gonna at least get a C30. But what we wanted to do today was, wanted to take a second here, and I got smart. When I did the math, after I did the math, I started changing variables around for the rollback portion of it, and I decided to make a quick calculator in Excel spreadsheet to do that. So I went ahead and do that. So plugging numbers in makes it real easy to see what all the parameters come out. And one thing I discovered was this thing may work better with a 36-inch stroke versus a 42-inch stroke. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. It doesn't change the numbers immensely. It increases the ramp by 1 degree up, but it shortens a lot of other stuff that just may work out better. You get cheaper. At 36 inches stroke, you get cheaper hydraulic cylinders that you can use. They carry just as much weight, they have just as much force, and we can reduce the cost and shorten some things up and increase some stuff. For example, the drop arms here are just above the height of the differential. Well, the drop arms in the 36 case, because the lift arms shorten so much with it, really brings that up, so we get a lot more clearance out of it. So what I've done here is, this is our contraption that we set up, right, to test it originally and verify the math. I went ahead and I've marked the 36-inch mark here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole so we can stick a screw down in it without cracking it, so it'll act as a stop. It'll stop there. We'll have to disconnect the front arm because the arm length is incorrect for the 36. We're going to go ahead and put it to the ground, put it up at the 36-inch stroke mark, and we're going to take a look and we're going to verify with what all that is. So let me go ahead and get that all set up for you. I'll bring you back in as we go ahead and make the measurements to see that everything does work out, and we might be switching this over to a 36-inch stroke. And as we get more information on the other one, we'll go ahead and we'll bring that in. If we end up going to get it, this will probably end up as a C30 update rather than a behind the scenes. But we could do a behind the scenes of go getting it and bringing it down here, depending on how much material we get to work with you guys, how much content we can give you. So hang on tight, we'll be right back with that type of stuff, and we'll look at some more interesting things. All right, so we got everything set up with the 36 inches. Let me show you. here we are. I even moved the control arm. You can see where it was used to be attached, and now it's been moved up. So we know that at least positionally, it's shorter. These are the same lift arms, control arms, right? These are the same lift arms, but when we close it, we'll see if they're too long, because the math says it probably should be too long. We'll find that out or not. We moved it to the 36-inch mark. It's hitting right here, so it's flush with that. We got the tape lined up down here, so it's in line with that mark, and we got our angle indicator. Okay, so the angle indicator has been bumped out a little bit to about a little over 17. It's just shy of 20, right between the almost 18 degrees, not quite 18 degrees if you look at that. Very, very close. So and also, let's go ahead, and while we're out here, we'll look at the length of how much ground it covers. What's the ground covered is like 97.25, maybe just a little bit more than that inches. Okay, so we got 97.25 there. Let's see what the length of the span is from the pivot point here. See if we can't lift that. Pivot point is right about the second bolt. That's where it hits. So right about there. Okay, we'll come back and do that one. It's going to take. I'll have to set you up on the tripod, because it's a little bit hard to do that. But I brought the math out from the calculator. Okay, over here on the left side of your screen is for 36-inch stroke. You can see it right there. And over here is for the 42-inch stroke. Okay, so we've verified all the 42-inch stroke stuff and what it's supposed to be. So, but here's what it comes out to. The only thing I changed was the 32-inch stroke from the other information you've seen from the math. And so what that says is that the ramp length to ground, that portion that's the hypotenuse, should be 102 instead of 108 now. We should have the ramp length for the chassis at 90 instead of 84. The ramp span to ground should be 97.33. Well, we just measured that. We just saw that, right? That was at 97 and about a quarter. So that's right around 0.33. So that one's coming out. The ramp span on the chassis is 85.47 versus 80.28. So it should be a little bit longer. This says that lift arm length 1, that was that initial, and then the add-on to get to the 42-inch stroke, right? Is what those two were. And on this one, for 36-inch stroke, the initial it's going to be 28.2 to the pivot point, and then we got to add another 7.8 inches, so not a whole lot more. It moves that point way up, as you can see that it did on that. The X point distance of how much you need to move it over on this was 5.79 inches, where it was 6.3, almost 7 inches on that. The angle of incline for 42 is 16.44, and went up a degree, so 17.44. So we verified that one as well. So let's go ahead and let's look at the other measurements. I'm going to set you up on the tripod here, and we'll make some measurements, and we'll see if it works out for that. If it does, we may do the 36-inch stroke, because they're about 50 bucks cheaper, and it shortens up a lot of things. And the shorter the better, right? You put less stress and force on it. And if the ramp only changes a degree, so that's no big deal. We can handle that, and we'll just see where we get. Okay, so let's get you set up here. Point down. Let's make some measurements. Right. So let's go from this end, because we can click it onto that. Bring it up, and we're getting 102 to the pivot. Well, a little bit over on this because we're sloppy. We're about right around about 102.5. So we're pretty good with that one. The length here over the span down to the pivot point is about, what is that, 88 inches or so? I forget what that is. Let's go take a real quick. So we know the 102 works. The span over is supposed to be 90 inches. Yeah, so let's remeasure that. I was getting 88, but let's make sure I'm on the pivot point. right on pivot point. About 8.5. So this one's a little bit off, but again, it could be where I drilled the hole. It could be the sloppiness in the outfit. Who knows? And then let's check the span here. It goes to right about there, I think. We'll go ahead and pull this off and mark this. Stop it. Lay down here, flip this over. So come here, right about the what? About the 1 inch mark out there. So it's at about 84. Let's see what the paper says we should have. And again, we got sloppiness. It should span 85.47. Yeah, so that's within the realm here. So in terms of how everything's working out, of course the math works for this too. And I guess what I wanted to see was how's the incline look, how's the arms look, and that type of stuff. Let's go ahead and close it up and see where these arms end up. They're going to be, they should be too long. Let's find out if we're right, because it's only a 32-inch stroke now. So I move the pivot point up. We'll see what happens here. Oh, as usual, it likes to stick because, you know, design flaws, right? Oh yeah, the arms are too tall. You can tell because it's jamming on the way up. All right, so we confirmed that those arms are just way too tall. They need to come down. So let me go ahead and cut these arms down to where they should be, or make another one for the 36, and we'll come back and we'll test that. All right, so hang tight. Alrighty then, so we're all set up here. What I had to do, because it was so high up on it, it looks like it'll work now. I can probably put the bolt in there, but originally you could see it was way up here when I was doing it, but this is where it wants to fall out at. Okay, so if we take the measurements, we should be what, 5.79 inches, which is almost 3/4, 5 3/4, not, you know, inches away. That's the center point. If we draw a line coming, it's right here. So if we come straight up and we look down, we're looking at, it's falling out at 5 5/8, almost 5 3/4. So that measurement works in terms of where we were talking about the X point, right? The X distance moving, how much forward you needed to go. Right here, this number right there, not quite as far forward as the 6.3, so it's 5.79 on that. So that's working out pretty good there. Now the final length of the arms want to be about 36.84, and what I did when I set it up, because I had the problem rotating it, but we'll go ahead and drill the hole and put it on there, and we'll try the whole thing again to make sure everything works out. And our final assessment here is it came out a little bit shorter or longer. So let's go ahead and measure it. I'm going to go here and realize we'll be just a tad bit off. It's if it doesn't slip on us, which it's going to. So I'm going to go put you up onto the tripod so that I can, sorry about all the bouncing around, guys. The things we do to check this stuff out, I know. All right, so let's go ahead and make that measurement. We'll do it from right about here, right about there. I'm getting a final length of about, what, just shy of 41 inches. 40 3/4 is where that wants to come out. And we're, I'm about 2 1/4 out. We've actually meant, like, it would shorten it a little bit, but not only by 1/4 of an inch. So we're off a little bit on that one. That one's longer, but the other one turned out a little bit longer. I'll have to check the math on that one to make sure. Or it could just be the sloppiness. Who knows? We could do that, but let's go ahead and drill a hole in that. We'll put the bolt in there. We'll pull the screws out, and we'll see if it rotates a little bit smoother and everything works out. But so far, all the math has worked out, and this is always an issue because of where the pivot point comes in and what the distances are. It's in the accuracy of the measurement, because we already showed that the math works. You can't beat the math, right? All right, so let's pop that hole, put our bolt in. We have a button or four button. I may have to go search for that one. Pop it right here. Here's the first one. Almost there. Alright, through the whole thing. Alright. Put the bolt in. Take the screws out. Give it a shot. You uncleared off the back so the bolt will flush. Let me go find that nut in the screw, which I think is over on the boat here. Nut in the washer, that is. Put it on. Screw that in. Make sure we got enough to get around our design flaw. Pull these out. What the hell? Pull the washer off. The other one's hiding behind the washer. Okay, sloppy, 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 but let's see what we got. Okay. Hopefully this will work without some binding here. Now, look at that. Loosen that up a little bit so I can get around it. Make sure that this is all the way rotated. Make sure it goes up high enough. Because what we're seeing here is it's not really touching the ground, but that could just be in our sloppy location of where the lift arms are. We'll make sure that the lift arms are long enough to do that. Let's recheck everything. All right. We have distance here. Sloppiness, but we're good. We have a distance here. Looking like a little bit over 86. I think that's correct. We'll check that real fast. Crossing your view. 85.47, so we're close on that. This one should be getting a little over 28, if I'm on the pivot point correctly. It should be 28.2. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 28.2. And then this, yeah, that one's coming out a little longer. That one's coming out at about a foot. It says the extension piece above that should be about 8 inches, which is where we marked the original hole. You can see it's coming out lower. That would mean it would move more forward. If the original drop point is right here, we're forward under 6 inches, which it pretty much says it should be, right? If I remember correct, that should be 5 and change, yeah, 5.79. So I'll have to think about this. For some reason, I'm always off on that. Final length of that is coming out at 40 3/4, 7/8, somewhere around there. And it should be about 37. So for some reason, I got something wrong, but fundamentally it works, guys. So we'll go with the empiricals. Everything else is matching, so we know that the design is right. But we'll do the empiricals for the, when we go to do it, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get it in its positions. We'll design the lift arms to fit it that way, to make sure everything works smoothly. And remember, we're gonna be on slides, not with this contraption here, so we'll do that. But anyway, that's where we are with the 36 stroke. I think we're gonna change it up to that because certain things work out a little bit better. It doesn't change the angle. That's one thing we didn't check in this, so let's go ahead and put that on there. Should be it. Yep, right where we predicted, right onto where the thing is, the marker is, so we're good. So yeah, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna switch that over. Depending on what happens with the other C30, you may see this as a behind the scenes, or it'll, if we have enough material, which I think we'll have, we'll put it into a C30 update, because we'll probably show you that and all the things that are missing, that entails. So stay tuned, and we'll see we actually see this, guys. More to come. If not, you'll see an ending. All right, we appreciate you guys. Hang in there. Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in Agawam, Mass. I'm Hubby with Just About Anything Garage, but you probably already know that because this is stuck in with some other segments for C30 update. We're going to go ahead and bring you along with us. We're going to go down and we're going to pick up a new cab for the C30. The guy who sold me the C30, as I told you earlier, has got a cab that I'm going to go ahead and get for this. So we're going to hook up the good old trailer right here, and we're going to go down into Connecticut. Not too bad, about a 45-minute trip. Go pick it up. We're going to take you along. We'll show you Joe's stuff, and if he doesn't mind being on camera, and see what's going on. But otherwise, we'll take you down for the trip, and you can get a first-hand view of getting that loaded up and getting it on there. So hang on tight. Let me get everything set up. We're going to put the tie-downs bag in. We're going to put the tool bag in. We're going to grab that right now, make sure that we have the ability to change tires if something should happen. Sorry, I'm honking you around here as I pick this stuff up. Make sure that we're all ready to go and get this picked up this morning and get it up here. And then later on, and I'm not sure if it'll be in the C30 update because it's kind of side related to it. Remember, we talked about the possibility of doing another project to make sure that we have a parts haul and stuff. We're going to go look at a potential truck, another one in Connecticut, of course. It seemed I'll be there on Tuesday in a couple days here, and we might take you along for that one as well. All right, so sit tight, and once we get rocking and rolling here, I will bring you back in. All right, crew, how you doing? We're here in beautiful Connecticut to go ahead and pick up a body for that C30 project that we had. The gentleman that sold me the C30 actually had the body, so we're back at his place, and we're going to go ahead and pick that up. We'll show you loading it and stuff like that. getting it on, and we'll go from there. Pardon my non-hat. I think I left it when I was loading up. Forgot to grab it. Anyways, we'll give you a show once we got it loaded and we'll be ready to go. Be back in just a bit.
All right, we're going to go to get this on here. Using his backhoe, he's just going to place it right on the trailer. The 65 cab was to drop right on. Fairly decent. See if we can stop it from swinging here. Look at that. Right on there, real nice. We'll strap it down and head back. All right, we'll be back in a little bit. All right, there we go. All loaded, tied down, front to back. Ain't going anywhere. Doors wouldn't close on it, so we had to, we ran a strap on the doors to make sure the doors stay closed across the back. So we're good to go. Joe's a good guy. He'll keep me informed on other stuff that he has, and we'll go from there. But let's get this back. We got ourselves, it's in better shape. It's in, there's lots of things on the other. This is, you know, it's got its things that need to have it, but in a lot of ways it's better. So it's a good purchase for us. So we'll get back. Hopefully we'll have a nice drive back and not an issue. And we'll bring it back up once we're sitting in the house yard. All right, guys, we'll catch you later. All right, so we made it back, uneventful trip. I did pull over once just to make sure that the straps were tight, because my reference point changed on the cab and it moved a little bit. It rocked forward. I'll show you what happened with it. It's got drop downs for running boards to step up on the cab, if you saw, and this one, well, it was supporting it. It went down, and it's just went to prove and show that the rockers on this aren't very good. And then that one twisted out too and took a rocker out. So what I saw was this rag joint was hanging over the edge and it slid forward. So we just went and made sure all the straps were tight and all that type of stuff to make sure it wasn't going to go anywhere. We have lots of great stuff on it. Joe's a straight up dealer, straight up guy. He doesn't lie. He was very honest about it. This has got a air operated brakes. That's going to come off. We'll put our other one on there, and we'll, between this and the other cab, we'll pick out all the best parts. We'll get the best cabs. This has got better doors than that. It's got good glass in it, good windshield, which we needed, and a couple other things. So we're in good shape. We'll combine those two, get the best that we can out of it, and we'll go from there. And talking to Joe gave me an idea on the rollback. Remember we were talking about the flip gate? We decided we weren't going to do it, and maybe do a second project. Well, we still may do the second project, but he gave me his 2 cents on how we might be able to implement that and keep it stable from doing any collapsing if we want to go ahead and have it flip up and make this an all-in-one. So that's back on the table. We'll see. I'll bring you in as soon as we think about it a little bit. All right, we're going to move on to the next thing. That's the come along. We've got the new cab. It's a big boy cab too. It's from the bigger trucks. So, but it'll drop right on the C30, and it should look good on it once we get it done. So we'll see where we're at. Appreciate you guys, and stay tuned. We should have some more C30 updates to tag onto this before we stop. Okay, I told you there'd be more. Oops. Okay, when we were transporting, I noticed, I was telling you, it rocked forward. Well, what happened was that collapsed up into the floor. Did a nice little job at what was semi-together, not semi-together anymore. So I suppose it did us a little bit of a favor of pointing out weakness that we're going to have to address if we're going to use this for different, but there's lots of things to it that we can use, like I was saying, and get that all worked out. I got some stands underneath now to support it, so it won't do that, and we'll do a real good assessment on it here. Take you for the ride on that so you can see what it's about. But like I was saying, this is a big truck cab versus the standard C30 cab, so it's a little heavier duty in certain places and carries some other stuff, but it's got lots of good pieces for us. So between the two, I am sure we'll come out with a really good cab for the C30 project. So hang on tight, we got some more updates. All right guys, as noted in the update there, with the note, we figured out why that lift arm is always off by some. Remember we talked about how in the original math that, remember that it's an imaginary line and everything was mounted above it by a couple inches? Well, when we set the mock-up up, the 2x4 is at least 4 inches above where the pivot point is. So we have to accommodate for that. So if you take, and I did this on the calculator, add in an adjustment factor for the fact that it's up longer, guess what? The lift arms come out to the right length. So that's what it is. It's the fact that we're away from the pivot point. Everything is done from the pivot point. So it's a little bit lower where it's coming in, and then it's a little bit higher because we're mounted to the 2x4, not at the pivot point. And I'll show you here on the math what I mean. If we look back at our math stuff here, remember this one, everything is referenced to the pivot point right here that drops down below it for this arm and then straight out from there. Well, what we're actually done is we're dropped down, plus this is then up about 2 or 3 inches as it buttons into the 2x4 for that. And that's why our length keeps coming out longer. So again, math to the rescue. We figured out what we were missing here, and we got that. So we appreciate you watching the video. Hey, do all that jazz for me. I would appreciate it. It helps us grow the channel, as you guys know. And we're getting ready to go ahead and make that tilt assembly. So we got some exciting fab work coming up. So stay tuned for that. All right, we'll catch you later. Thanks a lot, and thanks for watching.